kind of ran away with the toy and was
Okay.
gone for, you know, at least a minute. You know,
Okay.
but eventually, as she got closer, you know, I try to set her up for success. So when she gets closer, then I'll say middle,
Yeah.
so that she'll then come running in.
And are you facing her when you're asking her to do middle, or are you facing the opposite direction?
I kind of mix it up, but sometimes I'll look over my shoulder, like, so I'll be actually giving her my back,
Okay,
which,
good.
and with my legs spread. So
Mhm.
it's like, come on in.
Yeah. Okay. And does that tend to work better than if you're facing her?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the way I trained it, right? Was from the back. And though she's, you know, very good about coming in at the front, but I just thought, you know, again, setting it up for success, I would
Mhm.
make it easy for her.
Yeah. And a lot of dogs do come in better from that position because there's less pressure, right? We're not
Right.
like, come in to the front, which
Yeah.
can be a lot for them. Did you find when you were playing the whoops game that it got any extra motivation, drive out of her before she got the toy? So before she ended up taking it, or did you find any extra kind of push or frustration or grittiness from that?
Okay, I've mixed it up. Wasn't whoops that I was thinking. Where's the one where you push them through your leg?
Oh yeah, okay, middle for diddle.
Oh yeah, okay, yes.
Okay, okay,
Sorry, the whoops one. Yeah, no, she, you know, that's good.
okay. Yeah,
Sorry.
makes sense. Now I get it. I was like, okay, I get like letting go of the toy, which you can do for both games. Now I get it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So the middle for diddle is just not quite enough value on the bring back. Okay. So for the actual whoops game, was she okay with that? As far
Yeah,
as
again, you said not to do it too often, right? You know,
yeah,
like 2 or 3 times maybe.
absolutely.
Yeah, because she loves the whip it game,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and
Perfect.
that's all about whoops.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
But I did do it with more like what the video, you know, with the arm coming down, like
Yeah.
woo. And yeah, yeah, she was like, "What?" Yeah, no, she was into it. Yeah, it was all good.
It's like us getting the mechanics. I was practicing teaching it to one of
Yeah,
my friends, and she was like, oh, I'm going, what?
yeah, yeah. Arm down. Yeah, yeah. Hang on a second, Mike. It's ready for you. Sorry. Okay.
Good
Yeah.
thing she was playing it with her Sheltie and not my Malinois.
Oh, yeah.
Don't move it to
Actually,
the wrong spot. He'll bite you.
they might not take to it too kindly. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll get your leg instead.
Yeah.
It's not
You
going
just get,
anywhere.
I found with him, you just get very mindful, and he's actually quite good. Like he doesn't want to bite me. But like they target differently. Like they really visually like pick the spot it was to go. So if you happen to move the toy across your body, like, yeah, it's, he lets go right away. But it's Malinois accidentally getting you versus the Sheltie accidentally getting you, two different categories.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah, so
Whoa.
we've had a few scary moments that, I mean, he doesn't, he lets go immediately, but it's still like, whoa, that was close.
Really got to think this through.
No bungees, no bungee toys. It's a bad idea.
Oh,
That
oh.
like let it go and then it flings, and then all of a sudden you've got like teeth coming out your face because it's
Yeah.
going. Oh God.
A flying alligator.
Okay. And the middle bowling went well. I'm assuming
Yeah, that's good.
that
Yeah.
one. She likes middle. So. Okay. So how about the mat work for the running contacts? How's that going?
Yeah, it's about the same. It's
It looked pretty good last time. So.
yeah, she's getting at angles, she's doing that. If there's too much speed, she misses. I
Okay.
mean, so I'm trying not, I'll start with her at speed, and then when I get 2 misses, then I slow her down, and not slow her down, but at least just, we
Change the
won't go around a cone.
Okay.
We'll just start from still.
Got it.
And yeah, she's all for that. So then I saw a Susan Garrett video
Mhm.
where she did, Vito's game,
Yep, the thinking game. Yep.
but with the mat. So she had 2 cones so that the dog is going from one side of you, wrapping the cones, going across the mat and coming and doing back and forth. And then obviously you get farther and farther away just to help build value for that mat.
Yep.
Well, I only did 1 session. We need lots more practice. She wasn't getting it and she knows all about Vito's game with 1 cone, but
Okay.
with the 2 cones, she wanted to come in between. Basically, she wasn't putting emphasis on the mat. She was putting emphasis on wrapping the cone, which is what
Okay.
we've done before, right? So,
Okay.
so now I've got to get her to understand. No, there's value for the mat. Go across the mat and come to the other side of me. But I thought that was kind of interesting. It was.
Yeah, there's so much you can add into the Vito game, right? Because they're just having to think, but definitely showing you where the value is, which does make sense because she's probably done a lot more cone wrapping than she's done mat work. But like that game is awesome for flexibility because you can put so many different thought processes in it. The only thing about that game that I don't like to get stuck there too long is that I find it makes them super thoughtful. So
really? Okay.
yeah, because most of it's done trotting. So I do like it. I really like the game for developing like more a thinking process. For dogs that tend to be overthinkers, I find it gets them into the pattern of doing things at a set pace. So I just don't like to stay there beyond. Like you just have to make sure you move on with it. Basically is what I found, because I have had when I get and I can usually tell when they come to me when they're showing me some of their behaviors, because it's very methodical. So they're getting a lot of like the dog processing, which is great. You definitely want the dog to think and build value for the mat and be able to find it from anywhere. So I do use that process in the beginning stages when I'm doing it for sure. But if you have a dog who's motivated by your motion and not just by doing things, there's nothing in that game to motivate them.
Right.
So
right.
if I did that with a dog like, I'm going to say Hydrock because he actually likes those things. Hustler, you'd never get him out of a trot. He would trot the whole way, right? Or if I did it with a dog like Dice, same thing. I'd never get the speed, because those are dogs that they're motivated by me, not
what
by
you're
the food.
doing.
Yeah. So I mean, they like food, but I would have to really, and of course that game's not about animating the food and developing that. So with so it's supposed to be like that kind of flat neutral. Well, for those 2 dogs, I am the cookie. Like the reward experience is higher value, which has worked out to my favor really for agility.
Yes.
That they would prefer a reward with me involved than a reward without me involved. So the cookie coming from throwing, motion, me moving is part of the experience for them. So if I stay at that stage too long, I don't get the intensity in the performance, but I do love it to develop thought process, right? I really like it for developing thinking. But in the overthinkers, I just find we lose some of that pizzazz and punchiness for people who stay there. So it's just knowing when to move on with it. But definitely good for building value. I do really like it for that. And how have you been finding like her work ethic? So what's she been like that way?
It's been pretty good. We also, the weather, it hasn't been as hot, which helps immensely.
Yes.
So yeah, no, that's been good.
So she's happy to work. Her intensity has been good.
Yeah, I mean, it could be better, still be better. I mean, but no, she generally is happy to work. Yes,
Okay. Okay.
it's still time of day motivated as well, and I mean, I can't just take her out at any point in time during the day. I shouldn't say that. I mean, she'd be willing to do certain games, but I'd be mindful. Midday is a little, she's a little lower ebb,
Right.
especially if it's hot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if it's fall and at midday, probably would be better.
Yeah.
I would get more energy, more speed from her.
And that's fair to an extent, just because like heat does, certain dogs are influenced more by that than others, for sure. So I mean, so am I.
Well, what do you guys do down south? I mean, do you just train in the early morning and at night, or do you get them used to the heat? Because you have outdoor trials and
Yeah, we definitely do. Like last week was not last week, week before that. Like we were mid 40s with humidity, so I didn't have class this year. Like there's just no way. Like the people
yeah,
can't. Like I
yeah,
don't like I didn't want to be outside, and I'm not that bothered by heat. Um, for my heat sensitive dogs, I mean, obviously we do a lot of like management type things, like make sure we get them cool as much as possible. But I'm really mindful of it because I don't want agility ever to be a discomfort thing. Like I
right,
don't want them to quit on me,
right.
right? So I just have to be very, very mindful. When I've been doing like Jolt's probably done the most out of most of my dogs. And yeah, I do it in the morning. I do it in the evening, and my sessions are probably less than a minute and a half long. Which is kind of me training anyways. Like if you watch me train, it's insanely short because I pick like one thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna do a couple of whatever, and then I just go and like walk my dogs. Like most of my training is done in the middle of a walk. I don't go out usually with like the intent to do a bunch of training, or I'll go and I'll do like 5 reps across a mat, and that is my training session, right? So it's like, all
Yeah,
right, we did 5 reps across a mat. I liked it. It was good. Move on, right? Versus like I'm gonna do reps and reps. Like if they're getting it, I don't bother doing repetition for the sake of repetition. So if I do 5 reps and I like it, good. If I don't like it, I tend to take it away from the exercise first. So problem solving wise, I first look at, okay, is the dog focused? And I talked about that on the live call today, was just, is my dog focused? Do I have the energy level where I need it to be? And if those two things aren't there, I just work and fix that piece first, right? So I'm always going
yeah,
back a layer, and then ask for the behaviors again. So if I was trying to do weave pulls and my dog was missing an entry, instead of repeating the weave pulls again, I would tend to look at, okay, do I need to like arousal up, arousal down, or do I need to get the dogs focused, or are they stuck in a loop? And I fix that. So then when I fix that, the equipment repetition is quite minor, just because
okay,
I'm more and more as I'm training, I'm getting very picky about not rehearsing things I don't like. So just limiting rehearsal. So if I don't like it, I don't want to see it 2 times in a row. Like I will do something. Now, a lot of the times what people will end up doing is they change the setup, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that.
okay,
But if there is a mindset issue, you're still rehearsing the state of mind that you don't like.
uh,
So if a dog is getting, let's say, too excited and they're jumping the mat, I'll just use the mat as an example. So if he's too excited and he's jumping the mat, and I take the speed out, he still may jump the mat on me, right? Because you can still do
yes,
that, and the failure
yes,
rate is going up very quickly. So now I'm getting like 2-3 failures in a row, which I don't like. Whereas if I take him away from the mat and then work on the arousal down, so arousal up, arousal down, and get that transition better, I'm putting his brain
yes,
back into his body. versus trying
Yes.
to interrupt the pattern. Like I've seen
Yes.
dogs will get stuck sometimes on weird things like that, like even things that they normally wouldn't do, like running under jump bars. I've seen it, stuff like situations like that where they're limboing under the bar, and then we like eventually put the bar down to like 6 inches, and they knock it, like they try to go under it. It's so ridiculous. And I was like, what? Like, why would you even attempt that? But it's that we didn't fix the headspace issue, right? So if I feel like it's an understanding problem, I'll fix the manage the situation. But if I feel like it's a headspace problem, then I just address that with games. So I go to my basis on my games really quickly. So I find I get a lot done in a very short period of time. And I don't really have the desire to do mindless reps. So like it's either working or it's not working.
Right.
If it's not, I want to get to the root of it really quickly. And if it is, awesome, leave it alone. Like, great, you got it, move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas before I like to repeat.
Hang on a second. My gritless dog is not pushing through the gate. Anyway.
Okay. So speaking of grit, that is some of the stuff that we'll add in this week. Okay, so for some new games, we'll add in a game called Light the Fire, which is a grit building arousal up toy game, which you might like better than some of the other ones. So it's basically a restrain game where you're looking to add a little bit of back pressure. So they do this a lot any sport really, like flyball, they do it to get more drive. Of course, protection sports, they do a lot of back tying. So the idea is to just create a little bit of frustration. So I like to use a harness for this because I don't want my dogs choking themselves. So I'll put them on a harness, and I'm usually training it by myself. It does work well with a helper, but I honestly, I just tie my dogs to a post or a tree. So I have them on a long line, and I will either tie the post or tie the line to a post, or I actually like to just wrap it around once. So I can actually control the dog as long as they don't figure out to go around the other way. So I can actually like give and take a little bit with the long line while I'm teasing them with a toy. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that tease in, hold them back a little bit, and then when I feel them really pulling, I let go so they can actually chase. So it's creating a little bit of frustration. So it takes a little bit of coordination. In the video in Training Academy, they're doing it with 2 people, but that's been my workaround because I'm almost always by myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, all right, how do I do this by myself? If I do tie them to the post, then I have to make sure the toy comes within reach. So I tease them a bit, and then I have to go in closer, which doesn't get as much pull forward. So that's why I started liking just wrapping it once around a tree. So it's a little bit of like a pulley system. So as I can actually pull and like let go a little bit, because I find you get the most result with this if you can hold them steady, and then when they pull forward, give them like an inch or 2 of slack, like just a little bit, so they feel like they can almost go forward, and then instantly I let them go. So it just creates that like revving of the engine. So it's like, okay, go. Right? And you can get some really intense chase drive out of that. So I'll even do that for recalls. So then you can start doing it with running away from them if they like that type of game to get to the toy. You can do it with a ball, right? Just tease them with the ball until they're really coming up. I will give you my disclaimer for this. You can create psychomaniac dogs doing this. Like I've created some crackhead dogs with this one. But it does really boost up the chase drive. So this is one of the ones.
Okay, so after you've teased them a little bit, do you say anything, or you just basically let go and let them and then run with the ball or the toy or whatever? I just let them come and get it.
Yeah, like I naturally be like, get it. Like I just encourage. And it's not because my words mean anything. It's just because I like to use energy from my voice. So I'm building up more of that anticipation, because of course the eventual goal in agility is that anticipation is on me, right? So I'll also do a lot of kind of game on body language with this one. So when they're first restrained, I'll make a big deal out of like tensing up and then showing the toy and then teasing them with it. And it's also important to note, like when you're teasing, you get the most if you go slow and then quick. So really slow motion. So I drag it across the ground slowly, or I bring it out. So it'd be like here, and then I'd be like, right? And I make it twitch because it simulates prey as much as possible. So slow, then quick, slow, then quick. What people tend to do is they like go really fast right away, and it doesn't give the dog time to really zone in. So if you move any toy slow and then move it quickly, they tend to engage so much more. And then if you can build that anticipation on you become insanely exciting very quickly, right? So I was trying to demonstrate it for somebody on a video the other day, and I was in the kitchen here with one dog that I was working with. The other dogs are in the back room, like really far away. And I hadn't even said anything yet, and just like the sound of me doing that inhale, they all jerk, like, and no one, like the dog I was training hadn't moved, I hadn't said anything, and just that go, they were like, oh my God, something's happening. We're missing out. How did you guys know?
Could you send me that video, or like, I just want to make sure I've got the mechanics right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just adding in, I'm all about anticipation because of course our goal is to transfer all of this onto us, so that we have our reward in the ring. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes.
So to build more anticipation for you, because first you've got the toy that you're playing with and getting the dog. So would you later on maybe not bring the toy out until after you've let the dog go and you know that they're pulling on the line?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can fade the reward later on in the chain, right? So initially I use it as a bit of a draw, and then after that it could be me taking the toy out. So I might have it hidden, and then I add my anticipation, then I produce the toy, then I kind of do the slow fast thing, and eventually it could just be me tensing up, getting that anticipation from the dog. I haven't shown them anything yet. They chase me, and then I present it. So it's fading the toy farther down the chain of events until the dog doesn't really even care about the toy. Like I can just make them lose their marbles just by what I'm doing, which is the eventual goal. Because I mean, like you can add that type of thing into the handling. So when I'm doing front crosses or wraps or anything, I can always on course pause and tense up. Right? Like that becomes part of my handling. Right. So when I'm running a dog like Hustler, there's a lot of like little pauses and explosions, like little tense up, run fast, tense up, run fast, when I'm handling him, because I'm motivating him all the way around. Right. So if I feel like he's a bit flat, I can actually add those types of cues into my handling, which is kind of fun. So just bring it up just that little bit of a notch and gives us a tool that we can use, because most people will think that the speed is up to the dog. Right? It's like, oh, she's decided to be fast today. Oh, she's decided not to run fast today. Like we just give all the ownership to the dogs on that, but there's so much that we can build in that you can just, it's like developing your own secret language, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know, like, and until I point it out to people, they don't see it. Like they don't realize I'm doing anything different, but my dog does. Like I'm happy. Oh, he gets
That's
it.
That's all that matters.
Right? He gets it. He's like, oh. Something, and nobody else, they're like, whoa, what just happened? It was like a burst of speed. I'm like, So like little
I really need to do that. I need to figure that out. I need to work on that.
I feel like everyone needs to figure that out. To be honest, I just don't think it's understood well in general for most people, because we focus so much on the basics like timing and what cross to use where, or what verbal command we're saying, and there's so much like beneath that that's actually making a big difference. Yeah. It's cool once you.
It all comes down to the communication with your dog. Period.
Yeah. Communication is everything. And we always are, we're just not always we all don't always know what we're saying. Right?
No, very true.
Until it's too late, and then we're like, oh,
Yes, exactly.
I didn't mean to be saying that. Like when we we were at Worlds and we taught the bus driver who didn't speak English very well to tell our manager to piss off, but he didn't know what he was saying. So we told him, we're like, oh, you just need to go over, and he thought we were kind of mean, and he thought we were telling him to say something nice. He said, you just need to go over and say, you know, piss off to like our team leader. And he's like, okay. So he goes over and does it. And then he's like, from the look out, she was shocked. And he's like, oh, what did I say? Like, yeah, no
exactly.
idea. You know, kind of what happens.
That's what we're doing to our dogs.
Yeah. Like, oh. Come in, go out. I don't understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a great game to play around with that for sure, because you'll see from her response what's working. So if you lose her attention at any point, that will tell you that you accidentally said the wrong thing.
Okay.
If you're trying to play this game and her mind kind of goes, oh, like look, butterfly, that's your cue that, you know, you accidentally said something that that didn't make sense. I don't get it. Okay, questions about that one? They give more details on it, on exactly how much tension to use in the video, but that's kind of the basics.
Okay.
Okay, so the other one we'll do is short-term good, long-term great, which is another grit building exercise. Probably one of my favorite ones. Short-term good, yeah.
Oh.
So short-term good, long-term great. And you can, when you're searching for that in Training Academy, just put any part of that sentence in.
Okay.
It'll come up. Don't feel like you have to write the whole thing. So basically what it is teaching the dog to be a bit of a gambler, right? So we want them to realize that if they don't get reinforced early on, it actually equals a bigger payout at the end. So the way we play the game is we're going to pay with low value for single behaviors and pay with high value for multiple behaviors. So it'd be like sit, cookie, down, cookie, spin, cookie, sit, down, spin, jackpot, right? So something super exciting. So they start learning that combo behaviors pay out the highest. So when you reward them, they're actually kind of like, oh, crap. Okay, well, I guess that means that I didn't get the big paycheck at the end, right? So it's like, oh, I'm out of the running for the big reward at the end. The big one I found with this is just making sure that you have enough contrast between the reinforcers you're using, right? So you may have to use a reward experience to really bump it up. So it could be, you know, throwing the food, having them chase. If there's something they go absolutely crazy for, that would be the one you'd want to use. So let's say they go nuts for the treat and train. I was using that with my guys the other day. So I was giving like kibble from my hand for just single behaviors. And then when I would get the behavior chain, I would actually start like multi-dispensing the treat and train. So it's extra value of the excitement of it. If you have external things, like I was using the swimming pool with my guys, would be a super high value reward for most of them. So I'd be like, sit down, stand, go swim, right? Oh, he fell asleep. I was like, am I gonna get it? He only opened an eye.
At the door.
I was like,
ready to go.
I was like, should I spell this? Or
Yeah.
Apparently he's tired enough. He's not going to go crazy.
Oh.
So yeah, anything that just creates a lot of excitement for the behavior chains, right? And we don't want to get too crazy with it as far as doing like 20 tricks in a row. Whatever is going to be an amount of behavior she can do while staying like optimally motivated, right, initially. And then you just change up how many behaviors are in the chain. So it could be 2 one time, it could be 5 the next time, just all over the map. Right? So it's not predictable, but we want it to be like 1 behavior, 1 cookie, like low value cookie, so that actually ends up being the lowest paycheck. So when they do the easy stuff, it's actually not paying as much. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because eventually, of course, we need more for big payouts, because you can give them whatever you want as soon as they're out of the ring, but when they're in the ring, They have
Yes.
to be paying attention to what they're doing there.
Patience.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where our reinforcement schedules often that we use during training, if they're too high for too long, then it just becomes an expectation, and that's where we get frustration, right? So I definitely reward when I'm teaching something very highly, and when I'm breaking something down to show the dog, but then outside of that, I really want to make sure that I'm getting some variable rewards so that it's not quite as predictable. Okay. And the third one we'll do is the paint the town red. So I do this with all of my dogs because it's the basis for all of your fancy handling. So all of your flipaways and your like double turns and like everything, basically the entire one mind handling system actually is based on following your hands, right?
Yes.
I like it for the people because by doing this, there's no extra stuff. Like you're not trying to do it on time. There's no positioning. So it really just strips it down to, can the dog follow your hand, right? So it's like doing a miss, but with your hand. So you're going to have your palm up, cookie in your hand, dog's nose is following, and you're just trying to keep their nose exactly following, hence like it's a paintbrush, right? So you're just drawing the line. So much of what we do in agility that looks super impressive, you can actually do with like an 8-week-old puppy that knows nothing, if they know how to follow a lure and if you're good with your timing of your hand. So I can fake skills that my dogs actually don't have. So there's certain, actually, my young dogs really don't have many skills, I would say, but they fake it really well because they know how to follow my hand and I'm good with my timing. Right. So if they can follow my hand, they can learn it really quickly without all the proofing levels that I will definitely want to put in, but just haven't yet. But they can still figure it out pretty well. So this one is one I just revisit quite often. And you'll also find when you start moving your hand quickly, you'll get an increase probably in the excitement level. Right. So it's that same, like they're following the food and the food suddenly changes direction. Right, that they actually bring up that excitement a little bit, which will probably be a good thing for the motivation as well.
Okay. It's interesting you talk about following the hand. I'm going to just go a little sidetrack here. Today was Danielle from the Red Barn.
Yeah.
Is up in the Sioux, and she had a handling seminar today. And she was basically teaching to forget the hands, to focus on your body box, right? Your shoulders and chest, and that your body, like what you know, the decel and acceleration, like, you know, the hands going for acceleration and less so in decel, but really not doing much else with your hands unless you need to do out. And then you really need to support with your arms. I have always used my hands.
What level was it?
This was she had foundation, then advanced, and then tomorrow was master prep, and we were in advanced.
Okay.
I didn't do that with Chessie. So I was working with Hunter, that miniature schnauzer that I work with. So.
Okay. Only because the hands come in with intricate handling. So if you're not doing threadles or flipaways or lap turns or double lap turns or wraps, if you're not doing technical maneuvers, I would agree that you don't need your hands, right? As far as like, yes, they follow your whole body, but when you start getting into threadle stuff, so you start getting into threadles and you start getting into multiple lead changes on the ground, trying to do that with your hands is really hard, like really hard, because you're actually trying to create a bend through the dog's body before they jump, not while they're jumping.
Right.
So trying to do, so I've done it, and I've done it on weight shift, and I did it with my Moody, who's my most perceptive dog, because I was at a seminar, and then we, you know, of course we always have the verbal discussions because my dogs don't know words very well. It's just not me, right?
Right.
I fully see the merit in it, but like I will tell you if my dog doesn't understand their words, and she doesn't. So they were saying you had to have a separate word for a throttle wrap versus a throttle slice.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder how well my dog could read it just purely on body language. Like if I could get her to understand, and I actually experimented with it. And I had several people watch to see, and they could not tell what I was doing to get the dog. And her success rate, I think she only made one mistake and coming into it. But, and this is what I told my students, I'm like, keep in mind, most of you guys are not going to be able to, like I know what she's reading. She's reading my weight shift onto my back heel. So in one of them, I leaned forward, and one of them, I shifted my weight back, and it was for a split second, enough that you can see it, but she's connected enough to see it. Most people aren't going to be aware enough of themselves to do that.
Right.
Like, I can do it with no arms, but I'm doing it all on weight shift. Well, most people are not going to be finessed enough in their body language to be able to, or have a dog that's connected enough to see it. So that's when I find that hands are much clearer, because you can get the dog's head, right? Like you can literally take them by the nose and turn them. Or in the case that you don't have time to do that, which was the argument of that trainer, why they wanted verbals. I said, I can totally see why most people need to do verbals for this, because it's just too complex. But I mean, for all your basics, like your blind crosses, your front crosses, your rear crosses even, could you do those with no arms? Absolutely. But when you come down to really intricate stuff, I don't think people have the awareness to be able to do it on a body language. Like most people don't even know where, like, whether they're leaning forwards or backwards, let alone which leg has the weight on it, huh?
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
No, I find that interesting. That and how did the dogs respond to it?
Well, it was interesting. One girl who has this Papillon, who is just totally focused on her, actually responded really well. Now, mind you, she normally runs without a lot of arm anyway, but for some reason, she and that dog, I mean, did very well. The Hunter, when I was running, I think was confused because I wasn't doing. I mean, she picked up eventually most of it, but she has this little schnauzer stick where she just stops and stares at me, and it's like she's stuck. And it's usually after we've done something that, maybe she didn't do it correctly. So, I've got to reconnect her and get her. But she did that more often today than she has done in other, because maybe I was confused and, or I wasn't clearly delineating with my chest, or whatever. It didn't go as well for us. But anyway, some of the dogs really responded well.
Good. Yeah, because I've done that with dogs before too, if I felt like the hands were a distraction. So if I have a hand there where the hand's not supporting what they want, it's just like kind of going everywhere. I'll sometimes do that. But I mean, for me, my hands are just part of my motion. So if I'm trying not to use my arm at all, I get really rigid. Like I don't run smoothly because I use my hand as part of my motion. So it helps me balance. When I drop it low, it actually makes me lean to the side. So if I know I need to like kind of lean into a corner, I just drop my hand lower, because that makes my whole body tilt to the side.
Right.
So I'll use it that way, but I don't find my hands don't seem kind of wild for the most part, unless I'm running hustler. Then there's a lot of hands. Anything to get them going. Anything. Right, because I have to look really animated. If I don't look that animated, he just stalls out. Like he just doesn't go forward. So, and then other times I'm like, holy crap, you're gonna outrun me. It's actually go faster.
Who was that dog?
Like, oh, I made the judge laugh when I was in competition with him. We had this jumpers course, and I just didn't expect him to be that fast, but there was a lot of straight tunnels, and he is quick when he gets going. And I'm running, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not gonna make it. And the judge was like, killing yourself laughing. Like, little like tiny short-legged dog running. I was like with him, and all of a sudden he put on a burst of speed, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm not gonna make the blind cross, and I had to like sprint all of a sudden. And she was like, oh my God. It's always entertaining.
Yeah, and that's why, yeah, it would be. Those are the moments you have to look forward to as a judge. Otherwise, it's boring, you know.
Even as a handler, which is kind of the whole reason I got him. It's just I cannot run that dog without laughing. Like I just can't. It wouldn't matter what he does. It's just really funny. Like he could pick up a cone and run around the ring with it. And any of my other dogs, I would be like mortified. With Hustler, I'd be like
yeah. He's a clown.
Yeah, even care about that. Like it's just funny.
Aww.
Okay, so questions about any of the new games or anything that's come up in your training?
No.
No,
Do I just keep on with the mat work?
Yeah. So again, the goal will just be adding in more speed, but you can definitely play around with some of the veto games, see how she's doing with that. Just from a flexibility standpoint, that's probably a good one for her. The more value she has for the mat, the better, right? So that can definitely help her out a little bit, and then it'll just be her figuring it out with speed, because of course when they don't have the speed, it's a lot easier, and that's usually the slowest part of the process, is just getting them so they can control themselves. Once they've got that piece, again, the actual contact work goes really quickly. So
okay,
once you get like her going, okay, I can actually adjust my stride when I get going fast to hit the mat, and you'll actually see it, because her natural stride would take her over it, and you'll actually see her change herself to get it.
okay,
so when you start seeing that, then you know she really gets it. But you can definitely do some with the shaping type games. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you're also layering in speed, right?
Right. Yeah, don't want to get stuck there.
Yeah. I like anything. It's like once they get the point, move on. I find a lot of us get stuck repeating things needlessly. Yeah, and then so we'll see building up the anticipation, and I'll see if I can get a video, because I think a lot of people would actually like to see that, building in just that body language, being able to fade the toy later on, so that it becomes really an arousal cue from you, and not so much from the toy. So I'll see if I can put together a quick little video of that.
Great.
With the play.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions about any of that stuff?
No, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah. So we'll see how she does with these ones. They're all designed to help build a little bit more grit and a little bit more push and motivation. So we'll see kind of where her energy's level is at after playing these ones.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. So, so feel free to send me videos on any of that or any questions that come up. And I will see if I can get that video to you. And I'll upload this call so you have that as well.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
Same to you.
We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.